recording. So today I am talking about how to use the pen tool in PhotoPea, okay? The pen tool that we're using in PhotoPea is actually very similar to what you might see in Illustrator or something like that, with a couple of exceptions with how you do handles, and I'll show you what handles are in just a minute. So the design that I have here is just a bird. I got this bird off the internet. Whoever owns this bird, please don't sue me. So I got this bird off the internet. I think this is actually an Adobe image, so hopefully they're not too mad at me. Let me just realize this is not an Adobe product that I'm using it in, so hooray for irony. So I want to recreate this design, okay? Now, one of the things that I can do is I've got this circle here, is there are objects in here that you can use. Let me bring myself up here. There are objects that you can use to do, let's see. Yep, if I click and hold that, I can get to an ellipse, and I can just draw out a shape. And if I hold down Shift, it will make it go the same distance as I draw it out. So you can create something like that. Now, this is not the pen tool, but what I'm showing you is when you go to recreate something, or when you go to create something, you can use a lot of different techniques to get something done, all right? Now, that's great and everything, but I need to have this behind that object. So as you're manipulating these pieces, remember over here to your layers, if you click and drag that down, and now that's below that layer, all right? You also can go, so right now this is a white box, I can tell because I can see the white right there. If I were to double click on this, then I get the option to change the color. So I can change, and whatever color I'm changing it, it is making that change back here. You just can't see it because it's hidden. But what I wanted to show you was if you go over here and click on the yellow, it will use the eyedropper tool to get that exact color. So now I have, if I hide, I'm over here in my layers, if I hide that top layer, you can see where I've made a circle that is that exact thing, and I have made it be the correct color. Okay, so that is the concept here. I'm going to show you more specifics on how to use the pen tool in a second, but the concept here is that you are, imagine making a puzzle, and instead of trying to find pieces to fit together, you get to make the pieces, okay? So don't look at this as a bird and I have to draw the whole thing out. Look at it as that beak is actually made up of two pieces, right? I've got the top piece and the bottom piece, and that might be a good way of kind of thinking about it here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my layer 1 and select that, and I will give a little piece of advice. I'm going to hide this one. You can, if you go to change your opacity, it makes it just a little bit easier to see what you're working with. I deleted my white background, so let me add that back real quick. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to make it white and put that under the bottom. Okay, so I just did that so you could see it without the checkered. All right, so as I'm changing the opacity, and not all the way, just a little bit lighter, just so we can kind of see what we're doing. All right, so here's the technique on how to use the pen tool. To use the pen tool, I'm going to go to the pen tool. Seems kind of obvious. We're going to start over here. It's just below the letter T over here. So I click on the pen tool. Now, in Illustrator and all the other programs that we've been using, this is the concept of anchor points. Okay, we did this not too long ago when we did the connect the dots assignment, where it's just click, 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 and it's just you're drawing a line. Here's a dot, and there's a line between them. That's it, okay? With anchor points, you also have an option to do what's called a Bezier curve. I hope I'm saying it correctly. Bezier curve is where it is 2 points, and instead of being a straight line between them, there is a curve between them, all right? And so the way that you tell it what curve you want it to do is by using those handles. It'll make more sense when I show you, all right? So I'm going to draw out the bottom piece of this beak here. Let me zoom in on what I'm doing. Go over to my pen tool, and I'm going to click at the top of the beak, and then I'm going to click at the bottom of the beak. And what I suggest here is the trick to doing curves like this is knowing where to put your next anchor point. And what I suggest, everything is different, everybody's got different solutions to this. What I suggest is either at the top of the hill or at the bottom of the hill. You see where it curves like this, so that's a straight line, and then it's got a curve, and then there's a straight line there. So I could either put it right here and click and drag out, all right, and that'll help me keep it straight. At the bottom of the hill, I can just click and make an anchor point, and now I'm back to having a straight line, all right? Or, I'm doing Control Z, I could do it at the bottom of the hill, which depending on your design might work better or worse, okay? So that one, I actually like it better the way it looks that way, so I'm gonna keep going with that. All right, go up here, and I'm gonna close off my shape. And then just like I showed you before, you can go back, click on that, and you can change the color to whatever you want, okay? So all we're doing is anchor points. And to get this right here, I gave you a discussion. Well, that's a terrible color. I gave you a discussion about where to click. And if you didn't catch what I was doing here on that second one, you click and hold and you drag it out. And that's how you get those handles. Okay, so don't just click and let go like we did before. Click and hold and drag out to get that handle. And it's the more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay. So that is the basic concept here. Now let me hide this, and I'm going to go back to my layer 1. I'm over here in my layer panel. All right, I'm going to do the top one. The top one gives you a little bit different challenge. So go to my pen tool, click, click, and I'm going to go up here to the top, and I'm going to click and drag out to get that curve, something like that. That's perfect. But now my problem is, and if we were in Illustrator, you would actually see the line show up. All right. But now when I go back over here to click this, it's going to give me a very big, I want to have just a straight line here, but it's going to give me an arc that goes up about like that. Okay, you see how it did all of that craziness there. I don't want all that craziness there, so here's what you do. Okay, if we were in Illustrator, you could just go back and click on that anchor point. Okay, if you click on that anchor point, it'll drop that handle. And that may exist in PhotoPea, I just haven't found it yet. All right, so I'm going to do Control-Z to go back. I'm on my pen tool, that's fine. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag out just like I did before. And now I'm going to hold down. I'm still got it dragging out on my right hand. With my left hand, I'm going to go and press the Alt button. Alt holds the other handle in place and allows you to manipulate this other handle. So if I went with a really big handle here and I click, I'm just going to do a straight line. It does this crazy big line like that, right? But if I click and drag out and hold down Alt, and now I'm going to bring that handle back to the origin point. Now I'm back to just having a straight line. So when I click, it just gives me a straight line. Okay. Very, very important, very big skill to know how to do. Okay. So the other parts, let's see if I still have time. I'm more a little concerned about the bell ringing here in a second. The other parts of what we did here, and so I've actually finished all of this. Let me turn this off and go into this folder. And I did want to show you, there is a technique that you can do when you're doing, let's say you're doing a whole bunch of, you've got this picture of the bird and it's all these different pieces. And over here's a picture of a flower. And then there's a picture of the sun in the background, right? And all these objects, trying to keep them organized. One of the ways you can do that is with folders. So I've actually already done this assignment, and all of those pieces that I used to make that, I put in a folder. I'll show you that. So, but let me show you how to make a folder. You don't have to do this for this assignment, but it's just a good way to know how to organize your layers. All right, so I'm going to select these three things. And so I can either do, if I were to do, say, this shape, and let me bring these pieces back so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so if I were to click on this and then hold down Control, I can add to my selection just like that. All right, or if I were to click on this and hold down Shift, when I click on that next one, it's going to select all of them in between that. And that's a technique that exists on computers. That's not just in PhotoPea. All right, so Control is a way you can add single pieces to your selection, and Shift is a way that you can add everything from the first place to the last place you click. So now that I have those pieces selected, you go down here in the bottom right corner, and there is an option to make a new folder. With those layers selected, when I hit New Folder, it makes a folder. So all of those pieces are now in that folder, and I can go in and manipulate them. If I turn that off, it turns off everything that's in that folder, or I can go into the folder and turn off just the pieces that I want. Okay. Oh, I had that's why I was messed up. Okay. So this is the design that I did. Okay. So I already have all of these pieces drawn out, and here's what it looks like with the, let me zoom out. Here's what it looks like with the individual pieces, okay? And you can see where when I did this originally, I actually made a folder for the eye, because the eye is comprised of two layers. There's a white circle and a black circle. So I put that in a folder just to kind of keep those pieces together. So that way when I go to move it around, I'm pretty sure it'll do this. When I go to move it around, they stay together? Yes, they do. Hooray. Okay, I wasn't entirely sure that it was going to do that, and it did. So good job, PhotoPea. So yes, all of those things. So that's how you do folders. That's how you use the pen tool. Very quick version of the pen tool. But honestly, the more you use the pen tool, the better you get at it, okay? But if you happen to use the pen tool and then what you end up with is not perfect, then let me show you how to fix it. So what you can do is you can go back, and let me just go to I was messing with this layer earlier. So with this layer selected, let's say that, you know what, I don't really like this, how it's kind of cutting out so far like that, then I can go with my, it's fine, we'll wrap up here. So with that, I can use, if you go just below the direct select, the pen tool, you can get the direct select tool, okay? The direct select tool will allow you to select a single anchor point and manipulate just that piece. So if I wanted to do something like this or something like this, you can see where it was originally over there. All right, so you can do something like that with the direct select tool. You can also double click on an anchor point to get those handles if you want to be able to manipulate it like that, okay? Another thing you can do is you can use the pen tool to add an anchor point. If I click on the path that's already been made, I just made an anchor point, okay? Just 1 second. And so now I can go in and manipulate those pieces. So when you make the design is not the absolute finished, can't do anything after that, because you can go back and manipulate the individual anchor points, and you can also add anchor points. If you go, I need more freedom, I need more ability to control things over here, then you can use the pen tool, click on the path, and add a point, okay? And then you can put things in groups by using folders, and then once you draw it out, if you want to change the color, you can double click on the picture of the design in the layers panel. So it says like layer 1, and there's the picture of your object. Double click on that object, and that's how you change your color, okay? So hope that helps. See how you do. If you don't do exceptionally well on this, it's okay. Pen tool, especially in the very beginning, can be very frustrating. And then once you learn how to use it and you learn how to speak that language, it starts to make sense. So getting to that place where it's like, oh, that's how you do it, can be kind of hard sometimes, okay? So that's all I got for today. Thanks, guys.